Bass and Bonsai, Black and Bluegill, maybe out. But we've got Fireball in the house and a couple other custom colors I've been working on the Chatterbaits. And then I wanted to give you an update on my rod and reel combos, arsenal, whatever you want to call it. So let's just dive in, and some of you may join along later on this little live stream, like Brew Tank, and Eugene's trying to sell me some reels. Brew Tank's trying to buy some reels from me, and talk about some if I had to part with. What's going on, Chris? But what I would and wouldn't part with at this time. Still haven't actually gotten out and fished. I did some, cast testing, ran some chatterbaits and a few other baits along the bank, and a couple jigs. Real dirty water conditions, real cold in the middle of this little. It's a place not far from here, and it just, let's face it, the fishing sucks. If you guys remember right, I do a lot of distance cast testing and stuff like that there, because there's never anybody else there fishing because the fishing's no good. And I have accidentally caught some carp and some other stuff while I was bass fishing and just cast testing. But anyway, it's actually a good place. There's one spot to test these little the square bill crankbaits to see if they'll come through cover good, because there's some nasty gnarly stuff there and I've lost a few crankbaits there. We didn't care because we don't need them. They won't go through the wood, or square bill crankbaits. So anyway, let's jump and get the baits out of the way, and then we'll talk about some of the rod and reel combos. Did I find anything new out in testing or not? So if you guys remember, I showed you this little tool I made, which I knew I had this. I didn't know where it was. I didn't make this. You can just buy this thing. Now, this end you don't want to use because you could actually cut the skirt material. But see that little round thing? It's already made for, I forget what they call this. I don't even remember where I got it at. But if you are wanting to jack around and mess with colors on your skirts, whatever this is, if somebody probably knows the name, but you can, just screenshot that and then do a search of what tool that is. It's real cheap. Wherever I got it, it was just a real cheap tool. But you just run that through there, put whatever colors you want to, and then pull it right back through. You can make these like I talked about. I just happen to have a paper clip. I don't know why I had this, but you can also do the same thing. Like, see that little end of the paper clip? All you got to do is bend that around and then run that through. Same kind of deal. So if you are going to be doing a lot of this, you'll want to pick up one of these. If not, you can make your own with I've used crappie jigs. Just any basically long little strand of metal you have laying around that sort of you can bend but does hold its shape. I've made all kinds of contraptions to work on the skirting material, because I don't have, I've had all this stuff in the past, the fly tying vise and all that. I used to actually fly fish and tie my own flies. Wasn't that good at it. But you don't need all that fancy stuff, just add a few strands here and there. So that's kind of what I did here, but I didn't need any of that for that. On this one and this one, I just kind of tied stuff over what was already there, pulled a few things off. So sidetrack real quick, still on chatterbaits. For those of you that are buying the knockoffs from AliExpress, have any of you ran across these eyes? Because I just kind of realized, and I started this customize these two that I got, and these are the only two, this one color, that have these cut out sunken in eyes. And I don't know what the blade's going to work like hitting on that. They look cooler than the standard ones, because all the other small, they call 10 or 14 grams or 14 or 18 grams. So basically the bigger ones, everything I have has these just a standard head like what a jackhammer has. So these came with, now in the pictures I went back and looked, the pictures on AliExpress, they don't have these eyes. It's a standard, just like this, painted in this color with the small little eyes. So even for those of you that don't know, now I don't know if some of the other ones maybe have changed or not, but I believe that, well, I don't know where my Thunder Cricket is, but the jackhammers, there's an old OG jackhammer, still a small, just a little eye. That's a ½ ounce. This is a little, but see how the cutout, they've like literally cut a lot of that lead out for that eye to set in there recessed. So I was just curious, and I don't know why it took me this long of having these. I've had them for I don't know how long now. I just never paid much attention to them. I'm like, why do those look so different, right? I'm like, and I looked at them like, oh, it's the eyes. Once I got in and started messing with them. So anyway, what I did on them, you can look. They come in a picture with the normal looking eyes, but they come like almost similar to what this one looks like. You know, you've got a lot of the brown with some of the black. Well, both of these, and this one I took the skirt completely off and put a bluegill one on it. But it had this look on this side, but on this side, it had all black, like there was no brown. So when I cut this one off, I took all of the brown and a few strands of the white and just added it to this side. I peeled off some of the black to where it may have a couple strands more than what I originally had. But so this looks like what it should look like, in my opinion, in the picture. Because some of the stuff coming from AliExpress does not exactly match up. Most of it is good enough and it'll get the job done, but every once in a while you'll get a couple. I actually think this is a cooler head look. I don't know what it's going to affect it'll have on that chattering of the head. But anyway, so that color I just tweaked on. I think it definitely should be a fish catching machine. I mean, if you can go out there, you know, on a bright, not bright, but like a dark day, but you know, watercolor could change if like a chartreuse one, or when you're like all white with a little bit of the, you know, and then just a, you know, just a different change. But all of these at any given time could just kick in, and one maybe work better than the other. But when you're looking for that more shady type pattern, even up to this, that's the same as that one. I don't know. I've got quite a few different, just that regular, and then just even the Z-Man Originals, that Sexy Shad or whatever that is. So anyway, let me put these up. I just wanted, I was going to leave it alone so you guys could see like I did on this other bait, just so we could kind of tell what I had done, what I didn't do kind of thing. But I only had the two. I'll probably order a couple more just to see if they come with those eyes or not. So this one, I peeled completely off. I switched out a blade so I could get the gold blade. It's hard to make out, but I added, I'll try to hold it up. I added a little yellowish color instead of white under here. So it's hard to make out in the camera, but there's a little more yellow, and then it's got just a subtle, I added, whoa. Hang on here. I'm trying to hurry so this video isn't forever. But I had a little bit of blue, you know, just a little bit to make it more bluegilly. So that is our Dirty Jigs bluegill color. And it's kind of the same way. There's more blue on one side than the other, but I don't really think that part will matter. I think that should also be a good one for bluegill. Then I kind of tweaked on, this was an old beat up bait that already had the gold blade, but like the head was almost all back to lead. And I stuck this is the Boss bluegill color. I stuck it on there and then I cut it down. Like I basically cut it to where I think it'll get hit best. There's just a little hits of chartreuse. I kind of tweaked the blue around here and there. But that should be a very good old worn out bait, kind of rejuvenated just by changing basically the skirt. And then I also, this is one I'd left the zinkers on, so it literally rusted out the hook keeper. But one thing I also noticed when I was doing my little experimenting here, these baits come in different ways. So I noticed this first, and I'll be honest, I haven't really paid much attention to these baits as they've changed over the, I guess they, I don't know if you call it upgrade them or just from different companies, maybe putting ones out over in China or what. But some of these OG ones, where's some OG ones? Let me find an OG worn out one. So I'd call it an upgrade myself. I don't know if I can find an old one now. Somewhere I got an old one. Maybe it's this guy. No? Yeah, I think it's this guy. So I bought this red one a long time ago, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. But so the newer ones, all those have it. The old one that's chewed up. This new one here. So I'm not sure. Like you can get discrepancies, in other words. So you can get different. All the older ones, I remember when I was checking them, comparing them to the jackhammer, if you can make out the size, see how far back it comes in the bait keeper. And then they have sort of, I don't know if you can tell or not, but that is a little thicker. They changed the material a little bit, and then I think they've even changed it since then, because that one is like shorter but thicker. And I've noticed some of these are just coming different ways. Like, see how that one's kind of short? So it's almost like they've made a few modifications. I don't know whether it be to the good or to the bad or whatever, but after having the one that rusted out on me, I guess a little thicker of a bait keeper couldn't be good. But there's where I did the trick, just with thread and super glue, just so it will hold the bait still. Still has a crazy sharp hook, and I don't know if I've ever sharpened this one or not. If I did remember though, I'll try to show you. Some of these are so, I don't know how they get them to that sharp of a point, but these are the ones you've got to be careful. I would almost, I don't do it, but you'd almost want to like kind of sharpen it yourself to take, it's hard to explain. This is a soft enough metal that I've literally rolled these up when they come, and I'll try to show you if I can find one that's, every once in a while you'll have one that is so pointy that depending on where you hit it, or you have to be careful, because if you get on any sort of wood or whatever, it'll roll that blade up. It'll roll that hook point up. And so you do have to check that more so than with any other, the name brand chatterbaits that I've dealt with. Once you know it's there, it's real simple. Like I talked about it, I don't know, I probably talked about it a couple years ago. I mentioned it, and I just reminded myself when I was looking at all these and the differences. Roll your finger this way. Don't go this way. You'll jack yourself up. But if you just roll your finger or your fingernail, and this one may be old, beat up, maybe time to push it down. That finger's jacked up from down here messing with baits for a month. But if that gets any kind of a point up, so it should be no catch. And it's real simple. You can either just run this, like if you're running across something hard like this surface I've got here, I can do that. Run it the opposite way, just across, to make sure it's not kinked up at all. It's just something to be aware of while you're out on water. And you can double check any bait, any single hook, your treble hooks or whatever, just to double check them. It's always a good idea to run, because I'm not saying it's just more prone to happen to the softer metal, the cheaper metals on your cheaper baits, or you just never know when you get a batch of metal that isn't as hardened as the other stuff, and it could, you hit a limb and you pop free and you're like, oh, it's good. And even if the hook was or wasn't bent, you got to double check those hook points. Anyway, let's move on along. So we got a couple baits there rigged up. This dude here should be fine. This one I was actually showing. So I'm at a loss for the whole black and bluegill thing. What was I doing with this dude? Oh, so here's one. I'll talk about him real quick. Here's sort of a copy of the Omega Custom Tackle. So I took one of our, if you remember right, I bought the Hog Farmer. I forget how much these were, but they say they're rated up to 18 pound. I'm hoping. So it should be, it looks about like what the size of what they had on the Omega Custom Tackle, and I've caught a bunch of fish on that one, no issues. So we kind of took one of our new baits and rigged it up with the actual Z-Man blade, and we're going to see what that does as far as letting the bigger size. I wanted to try this one because all the other ones I had a little white one rigged up there for like, I don't know, a few months, like a year or so ago, and then I've ran the Omega Custom Tackle, but I've never put a 1/2 ounce one. So this is a 1/2 ounce rigged up like that. I want to see if it moves around like the Omega Custom Tackle, because I brought the others out. If you remember right there, I brought those out of retirement, and they're back in commission, but they got a more pointed head, and I believe those were supposed to be 3/8. So I'll be testing that at some point. So I also am working on this Fireball color. So this bait just looked kind of plain. Now, if you remember right, it had just a solid bright red belly and then this red and black top. And I've since added, if you look, that bright orange off these, where's it at? If you remember off that 1 6-cent bait that had the crazy bright oranges, I took some of those strands and then some of that bright yellow color I had to just give this kind of an orange, very bright belly. If it's going to work, I got to hurry up and get out in the water. You got a brief limited time when these kind of might kick in, but then I also worked on the Fireball. So here is the first Fireball was, I just ripped some of the red off the ones that we were getting, and I left this one alone so you guys could see it. Then I went ahead and I made, this is my Fireball Chatterbait. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, yes, it's the alcoholic beverage Fireball. Cinnamon whiskey, but it's not really whiskey. But so we got a little cinnamony flavoring in there, and the red of the Fireball, the guy spitting fire. And that's what I came up with for, yes, all three of these. I will kind of, once I get out on the water, we've got the crazy bright intensity. We've got sort of bright, and then we've got just what I call mild red. So trailers, probably one of those yum crazy orange. I'll slap on that, may slap on all of them, and then just try them, and then go to, you know, tone it down as I go once we first get out there. So these baits I plan on doing something with, but I hadn't messed with them. But this is actually a good color just the way it is. You can get them right off AliExpress. They definitely work. They work, catch fish. Just like that. Just like they're basically, you have the orange version and then what I call the, you know, chartreuse version. So you got, I forget what is that a Delta craw? I forget what kind of crawl, and then like the Missouri crawl type style. They're usually honestly hitting one or the other of those, or a toned down version of that, which would be a bluegill type pattern possibly, or on a crawl thing. Yeah. So does that cover chatterbaits? Let me look. We're just anxious to get out actually fishing on a place where I know we can catch some fish, hopefully. I haven't really decided 100% on exactly what all trailers I want to try. I think I'm just going to start with the ones I know and then pull in some of the new ones once I figure out when they start hitting on chatterbaits. When I first hit the water, I may be throwing jerk baits and jigs. I may not even be throwing a chatterbait. You know, I'll throw it. I may not be like throwing it steady. All right, let's talk about combos real quick. I did something. I know. I OG'd. I went total OG. I shouldn't have, but I did. So if you guys remember right, I did a little thing on my arsenal, and I still picked my favorite rod and reel combo was this guy. But I added this that's in the handle. I just had to, just to put it on and, you know, leave it, not leave it, see what I thought of it. Doesn't affect the performance any differently. So I added every piece of gold I have that will fit on the New Zillion. It has on it. I could actually get, now I could turn into BFS. I've got a gold spool if I want to put the BFS spool in it, and then something like that. But that boost spool is a little something special when it's not spooled up all the way. So this is an awesome combo. I may put the bigger knobs on it just to try. I've got them actually just setting, not even on anything at the moment. So I thought about slapping those on it, seeing how I like to feel, because I love these on the tequila back rack. But anyway, awesome combo still. Nothing changed. It's just had some gold added to it. Now the combo, I couldn't leave. it was wrong to leave it like that. And it was a lose combo. I don't know why. I just couldn't leave well enough alone. So I took off the reel because there's just something about this reel that it didn't feel right on that lose rod. So I stuck the lose reel on my X Pride. So at the moment, this is my least favorite combo for sure because I just can't make myself like the X Pride 610 medium as well as I do some of my other rods. And then this reel is honestly, well, I mean, I've got either lose, other than the Custom Pro, the Hyper Mag is probably the lowest reel I got other than the Tatula. But this reel, just the noise and casting, and I don't know if I like the way it feels even on this rod, but I'll show you what I'm talking about. Before I bought that Lose Hyper Mag, I had the combo already set up how I was going to run it. And it was this combo right here. And I was like, man, this feels good. Now I've changed the knobs, and tell me if you guys like these knobs or not. But it was this Tatula. I added the drag clicker. Now I've cut down those knobs. If you guys remember how crazy they stuck out, I can show you what I did there. But I cut down the EVA knobs, so we've still got the big look, but they're not obnoxious. They're probably close to the size of what the Lose type stuff is on the whatchamacallit, maybe a little slender here. Feel very good. This combo just palms just the balancing, the going out and casting. And honestly, I think it looks better with this darker reel because it's got so much bright silver going on up high with the silver and that silver reel. And just I don't know, it's not a heavier rod, but it's just a little stouter rod, that lighter reel. This just feels better. It actually palms real good. You got the soft touch, a reel seat. And I just like this combo. These two together feel better than that Hyper Mag, which is a way more expensive reel. If you had to go buy this $350 reel, this Tatula you can get still right now. Go to AliExpress, $156. You got to order a drag clicker, put a couple bearings in it, and then either you can add your own handle assemblies if you want, or just leave the stock one. They do still work fine. And you end up with, it's right there with the Zillion. If the paint finish lasts better, it may be the new to dethrone the Zillion because of just palmability and how smooth and everything. It just works. It's got the hyperdrive. It's got a boost spool. It's insane. The weight, the one knock so far, unless the finish starts flaking off or something erratic, happens. But so far, the one knock I have to it is just it is a heavier reel. It palms. I would call it palms smaller than the Zillion, but it feels a touch heavier. But like on this rod, it feels fine. Like I like it on this rod. I think I'd stuck the Zillion on this. I prefer this. I may even prefer this, but I've already got the Zillion all golded out to maybe put on one of my bigger rods. But I've already got that covered with all the other high-end stuff, if you guys remember right. But if you had to tell me, like right now, that I had to fish with, I don't know, the reel that I've been debating about buying another one, of course, is a Zillion, because also on, and I don't know why, Digitaka used to be the cheapest place to buy Daiwa reels, in my opinion. There's a couple others, Japan Lure, but basically go to Japan sites, buy them. Now, for whatever reason, AliExpress they have them listed cheaper. I don't know why. I bought the one, if you guys remember the Zillion 10. I could never find anything wrong with it. I actually traded it off because I don't like the 10 speed. But I bought that reel. I bought this Tatula. I bought, I believe, yes, the Corrado BFS. I bought several, name brand reels from there, and I don't have an issue. Like I haven't had an issue from AliExpress. So you may have to watch, just double check if the price seems way, way, way too good to be true, because there's a couple on there that are like under 200, but one's like 207 for the new Zillion. And it's like 235, I believe, on Digitaka right now, the way that yen is. So I was just tempted to buy one to just so have it at that price because $200, 220, it'd be 215 shipped, I think. For that zillion, man, it's hard to beat that price. But the Tatula at 150, it'd be 100 and probably 70, under $170, I would imagine, somewhere right there to get that. And then you could put a drag clicker for 1250, and you're right there. You're going to be able to do almost as much. You probably can do pretty much anything that Zillion will do. I think the Zillion maybe just out of the box looks a little better than the Tatula, but they're not that far off. They're definitely bang for your buck. You can't, those two, like everybody always talks about the Shimano X Prides, bang for your buck rods, bang for your buck reel. Those two Daiwas. The gold, the Custom Pro Lose, I'd put it feels similar in the casting and how it's working so far to my Daiwa reels. The only reel that feels like as good, like I'm liking how it feels. I feel it kind of reminds me of like a Daiwa-esque as far as how easy and how smooth it casts. Is this the Elite? This guy, I'm definitely impressed with this whole combo so far. Like no buyer's remorse whatsoever. And so far on the orange one also. But on that Hyper Mag, it's like a night and day difference on what I just out there casting it. Just to me, I don't know what it can't not be just a paint finish. Like it's got a different braking system. They must have added some bearings. There must be something different. Just the smoothness of this reel compared to that Hyper Mag seems like night and day. I expected it to be, closer to this reel. Now this reel, once we get, actually out here fishing it, using it, what does the finish look like? How does it hold up? It may sink way back down on the totem pole, but just initial thoughts of how good it is working. It looks good. It casts good. It's smooth. The rod feels good. Just it's a good, well-balanced combo. And, let me show you one other thing. I'm still trying to make myself like this combo put together. I love the rod, and I love this reel, but I don't know if I love this rod and reel combo together. It's the lightest combo like I have for the size. So this is what it would look like just cut down. So those are the same knobs like I have on the Tatula, but all I did was I cut them back and then stuck them on. I did slightly round the edges a little bit. I think it looks a little funky myself, so I'm going to probably smooth them down. I just haven't done it yet. So it's simple to get to there. If you mess with ordering those and you get them and you're like, I don't want to mess with those. Now you have to have some other knobs or because I found a way where I didn't have to cut anything. Let me see if I can find the other one. Oh, here it is. So what's up, Frank? These are how long they originally were, if you guys remember right. Here's the original pieces that they came on. So like stuck out. Well, hang on. Don't go anywhere. I'll show you the pieces I cut off. Some I cut with an X-Acto. The others I actually had them on a Dremel. Then I realized it was just as easy to do it with an X-Acto and then smooth them up with sandpaper. So I kind of did these to show you guys that if you don't have a Dremel and you just want to like downsize, you just need an old set of knobs basically, so you can peel the foam. Just pull the foam. Just literally pulls. So that's one thing I've always loved about the Chinese. They don't believe in super glue when it comes to gluing the cork or foam onto these. They just stick them on. So yeah, that's how long they are. So all I did, because I have a bunch, and I still have some that would work, you gotta have the thing shorter. So I still have another set of these that I could do another set with. So generally, when you order knobs off AliExpress, they'll either come with a flat at the base, like a very flat look to them, or they'll have some sort of stuck up, you know what I mean? They come out a little bit. Now you could use these. All you need is, as long as they'll bolt on to your handle assembly, you can make these foams go on. You just, the more you might want to cut off. So like on those, that's roughly the length I just cut off. It's basically right to where this cut starts to cut into this. I just cut that off, smoothed it out with sandpaper, stuck them on, and I went ahead and, if you guys remember, these were sort of just sharp edges where they just cut it off flush or whatever, and I just started to slightly round them a little so they just don't have that as sharp as feel when you're grabbing them. But I will probably go ahead, I'm not going to do it tonight, before long, because this is the same thing, just I went ahead and stuck them on and then smoothed them down. I almost went too far though right here on these. But honestly, you're only talking, is it $6 or $8? I need to add another washer on each one of these probably. But so yeah, they just feel way better. Like these, I can almost feel, and they're a little thicker now. But yeah, those I think looks pretty good. I want to say $8 gets you the whole handle assembly. It's and so I think I was going to order the red ones and put on this. And then I think I might like that combo. You know, cut down like what I just did on that Tatula with the red caps. Because it does, everything works on it. It just, I don't know. I'll get out there and fishing with it, and that Poison Adrenaline is a hard rod to beat just on the overall everything it can do, but I always end up moving it down the totem pole on stuff. I just maybe don't have the right rod for it, or the reel for it yet. And look, I do have one red. No, that's kind of, I don't like these that stick up a little bit myself when they have that. I just like the ones that start out flat. And then the whole length is the, whether it be cork or whether it be, what you call it. And then these, I believe these are the ones that are all Abu Garcia. Let me put these back in this bag. So, I'm going to talk now and then I'm going to get out of here. All right, just over a half hour. Let's talk about what I really want to talk about with the rods. So, I did a little experiment. I'd never done this before. You guys comment like you're probably, oh, I've done that before, Charlie. I'd never really just hooked two rods up to something solid, you know, with the, you know, hooked them up with the line, came back, and then yanked them both at the same time to watch the actions at the same time and get the feel, like to try to see, you know, which one's more parabolic, which one loads up more, this and that. So that's what I did with like all my combos. I staggered them 2 at a time. So, well, with all the heavier ones. So I went out there first with the, well, all of them above my blade, because I know the blade isn't as stout as these other medium heavies. So the Poison Adrenaline medium plus, the 2 loose medium heavies, the Super Destroyer, the Dobbins, and the Tequila Back Rack, because I knew I had them lined up where I thought they should go on overall, you know, just so I know, like in the back of my head, which one does which. That way, if I'm out fishing, I'm like, oh, I want to run, you know, this half-ounce jig. No, wait, I want to throw a you know, different size or weight jig, or I'm thinking like, oh, I know there's a big fish there. Let me get my stouter rod than the other one, or, you know, whatever kind of thing. Because a lot of times, whoa, let me move these out of the way. Who put those there? A lot of times with these, not these chatterbaits, a little bit with the chatterbaits. Like if you're throwing this chatterbait, it's going to have a little different style hook than this chatterbait, even though you got 3/8, half ounce, a little different size. You throw the jackhammer, it's got its own little, right, just slightly a little different. So I might end up liking these rods different for different things, and then depending on how parabolic they are, it will depend on how, you know, is it better for chatterbaits or would it be better for bottom bouncing jigs kind of thing. Let me read what Frank says. On the handle, best bango, I think he means bang for the buck. Yeah, you got 4 Gamexes pre-assembled. Yeah, the Gamexes already put together. hard to beat. I keep waiting for these one knobs to come back in stock because I don't want to spend $45 just for the handle that has the knobs on it on AliExpress, because I don't want, it's like a 120 millimeter handle. I'm like, I do not. I've talked myself into 100 millimeter for my swim bait. These huge, crazy long, and I have them. These crazy long, whatever like this is, that is way too, like, no. That's, how long is that? I don't even think my gauge goes up to that, does it? What does this thing go up to? Yeah, it goes up to 100. And it says 110. So yeah, I don't know what this is, but yeah, it's probably 120. So whenever you're seeing those Gomexus ones that say 120, that's probably what you're looking at. So just for comparison, yeah, hang on. So the one I like is what I have on this rod. And what's funny, if you guys remember right, I think when I did the little thing, this was my least favorite combo. And it's funny because when you're out on the water throwing big stuff, it's your favorite combo. But so yeah, it is 100. So let me just show you the, like, that's a big, long thing, and there's just how much longer. I know you think like, what's the difference between 100 to 120 or whatever, but it is a lot. So you're basically, I think this is 100 and that's 120, so it's like 10 millimeters on each side longer. I don't know what it would feel. I don't know. That is as big as I want to go, and about as big a knob as I want to go. I've kind of chalked those down. If I could, I would take them in more, but I don't. I mean, it would take more than I want to jack with to try to get these to go in more, because they've got the Shimano style to where there's just one bearing and a huge spacer built onto the handle assembly. So I couldn't do it on that one. But this combo right here, let me set it right there for a minute. That combo right there is actually probably, well, that's, if you guys follow why they built it, why they made supposedly the Tequila Baccarat, is because they wanted a rod they could take to where that, you know, the Baccarat place in Mexico, I believe, or whatever. And so it's got the, you know, it's got the double foot guides. They go all the way up, and it's rated this crazy, you know, 12 to 30 pound. But I'm telling you right now, this rod, although it's my heaviest powered rod, it's not my heaviest rod. It's probably right there with, I mean, it's a little heavier than the Dobbins, but not by like a lot. And it's not heavier than a lot of rods that can't handle what it can. But what it does, when I went out there and loaded it up, it is one long parabolic like bend. Once you, it's kind of crazy because it's got a tip to it. It's not, you know, you need to start out with a fairly heavy bait, like ½ ounce. But it's got a little touch of tip action. But then, man, that thing, when you load it, like the whole rod has like a very nice curve that doesn't really get out of shape. So I think that's why I liked it for, I was throwing those big blade chatterbaits, and my hookup ratio was very good with it. And it's that big handle of the Gomexus was like making it easy. It's like a breeze to throw. And it's not a heavy rod overall. But so what I did was, when I went out there putting them two at a time, I started out actually with both the Lus. So the 610 medium, the gold one, which is the Signature Series KVD one, and then the Elite TI, which is, the Elite is just a slight, which I thought it was, a slight touch, you know, overall. And I think it's mainly in the backbone. I think the tip, if anything, which because it was designed for jerk baits, Kevin Van Dam, I think is a touch softer, if anything. Or no, wait, a touch stiffer, but then it doesn't have the backbone. of the it's hard to explain. The tips feel slightly different, but what feels different is it is slightly a more softer, or what you would call parabolic, than the Elite. The Elite would be, which it bends too though, and what's funny is the closest thing I have to the Poison Adrena is that Elite TI. The Poison Adrena seems like it is, and I have it in between them, and I kind of felt it just by hand, feeling them. But out there, load them up. Like, well, if you guys ever watch Omnia Fishing, how they put it up against the wall. If you've ever seen me, I've a couple of these old BFS videos years back, I would hold them up against the garage door out front and show you guys the bend in them. So basically doing that. And the Poison Adrena is a more, so the P5s, the Poison Adrena, and Tequila Baccarat, Super Destroyer, and the Blade definitely get to that more of a parabolic. But the Poison Adrena and the Elite and the Lose still have that forgiveness in them. Like, I don't really remember some of these more expensive and the cheaper rods tend to have like a, I don't know, a softer tip to a way stiffer backbone. And that's one thing, like these NRX Plus jig and worm rods, they don't. So like when you put a little pressure on, you start to get the tip to bend, and then usually you get like this bend, and then the rod only bends so far. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but so they're all in the right order that I had them in. So the actual Signature Series, then the Poison Adrena, then the Elite TI, then the Super Destroyer, and the Dobbins are actually, the fact that one's 6'9", the other one's 7 foot, see, only like I having to hold them in different ways. They look like they have about that same bend. That Dobbins rod, I would call it not even a power heavier, but slightly heavier than the Super Destroyer. But I think it's just in the fact that the Super Destroyer has that P5 material, and the Dobbins, whatever blank they use, probably is just that. I mean, and it's just like a slight touch stiffer. But I was surprised at how that Dobbins does load up. What's funny is, I'd swear the Dobbins is my heaviest loading rod, like the backbone, because of that P5 material. I didn't put them together, and I probably am going to do that, because I put the two loose, and then I took the one that I knew was stiffer, which was the Elite, and I put the Elite up against Poison Adrena, and I knew it was a touch stiffer. So then I put the Elite also up against the Super Destroyer, and then up against the Super Destroyer went up against the Dobbins, and then since it was a little stiffer, the Dobbins went up against the Tequila Baccarat, and the Tequila Baccarat, the way it bent, I was like, holy cow. It took about as much force, or it's hard to explain, like once you go so far with the Dobbins, it just kind of, you can tell that's where it's at. But that Tequila Baccarat, I never got it to where it was fully bent, but it just bends into this, where if you're not realizing how hard I'm pulling, it looks like a glass rod. It just, the whole thing like bends into this perfect little U shape, but I'm pulling pretty hard, and it would take more. I didn't want to try to mess with holding, because then the drag started going. I got the drag set to where, trust me, you yank the hook, any hook I got, you yank, that hook's going to be set before that drag goes. I've got that thing set pretty tight, because I got 40-pound braid to 30-pound leader, and I would still be afraid that I would snap that, and it's a pretty thick rod, before the 30-pound line would break. So I think I'm gonna be real happy once I get out on the water fishing these and try to figure out. I think I'm gonna actually end up liking the Elite TI for spinner baits. Maybe not as much as the Super Destroyer. I'm still up in the air on the Dobbins, being it's a 7-foot rod. I'm hoping the sensitivity's there. I couldn't really tell. It's so cold, and I was just basically bouncing jigs off of muck. You know what I mean? You can't really. It's like there's. I don't know. I was. I mean, when you're just in complete gunk, you can. It doesn't really take a sensitive rod to just you feel nothing, and then if you hit like a solid stick or whatever, I mean, you can kind of tell somewhat. You just hit something. But I think I'm gonna like it more for it's. The plan is anyway. The Dobbins and the Super Destroyer to be more for my bottom bouncing stuff, and then the Elite for spinner baits. But if I'll just throw the spinner baits and whichever one I like better. But I think that Elite also, because I'm hoping, this is just me hoping, keep hope alive. I'm hoping I will like the Elite because the one thing I've never found a rod that I like and works for both. And everybody will tell you that because it doesn't exist. Spinnerbaits and chatterbaits. One always just works way better than the other. Like if you get a good spinnerbait rod, typically you start losing chatterbait fish with that rod for whatever reason. A little touch stiffer, less forgiving, but it really sets, it just feels better for spinnerbaits because I think technically you need a touch more sensitive rod for spinnerbaits. But when you get that sensitive, but you would think though that the Super Destroyer, it's just too stout a rod for chatterbaits. It's just it's a little too much. The blade is a softer rod, but you try to throw a half-ounce spinnerbait with it, you can, and it's very sensitive. But I feel it's a little underpowered for a half-ounce spinnerbait. It's weird that I like it for the chatterbaits, but not the spinnerbaits. I would think that would be the one. So I'm going to try the Elite. Now they will all throw any of those baits. They are versatile enough, but once you've thrown one once you've thrown chatterbaits on this blade, the Poison Adrena, because the Poison Adrena is probably honestly the best for that versatility, like I keep talking about. I feel it's excellent for chatterbaits, but I think I like the blade a little bit better. But I feel it's too soft for spinnerbaits. So I'm hoping that's not the case with the Elite TI because I'm hoping that just a touch, I think it's just a touch like stiffer in the backbone department that I'm going to like it better for spinnerbaits. But we'll find out. And they're all real close. They're excellent rods. The Poison Adrena 610, 611 plus, medium plus, the Super Destroyer, a Dobbins, Xtreme HP, even that loose tournament are very nice rods. And we haven't even talked about the lighter stuff because of this rod isn't even in the same talk because it's just so light. It's not even throwing the same class of baits as Conquest. It's just it's its whole own animal, the MBR, because it's throwing a whole different, like 5/8. I probably won't throw 5/8. I will probably throw maybe 3/8 with a little something, trailer possibly, but it's probably going to live down around that quarter to 3/8, or it's going to be down lower, this combo. So it's just not going to be up there throwing those things with those guys. Now I'm going to throw them. You guys know me. I've thrown whopper ploppers and chatterbaits and everything else on ultralight or this Kind Teton 6'6" light. So I'll throw it on this, but I don't think I will like it on there. I have thrown just to see how well the blade would throw some of these 5-ounce baits, and I've thrown some half-ounce different stuff just playing around. I could probably throw every bait I own other than a few of the swim baits. There you go. We go. Look out, boys. On this little lightweight rod. Because it does have... it's kind of like the opposite of the tequila back rack that I have on the opposite end. So where it takes a lot of pull, but it loads up like this crazy, glass type parabolic thing. This MBR is kind of like that on the opposite end. It doesn't take a lot of pull. It's a way lighter rod, but it also has that crazy bends all the way down into the rod, but a very firm, you know, once it does load up that far, it's just to get that far in any kind of a decent hook size is probably going to take too long in pulling to set the hook on some of this type of stuff, but it can be done. You just reel and pull hard, and a super sharp hook, if it's setting somewhere in soft skin, which sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, it'll go right in. I guess that's it, boys. It's supposed to have like almost a mini blizzard come through here, like only maybe 1 inch to 3 inches of snow, but like 40 to mile-an-hour winds to 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and I got to drive basically a land sailboat tomorrow, so pray for me. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to also get these things. I kind of had to redo my Chaturbate box. Now, I've got a lot of Chatterbaits. I've kind of turned my day box into an overstuffed box for other stuff. So I've got all my black and blue and purple and black stuffed in here. I got all the couple odds and end different brand Chatterbaits in here. I've got some chartreuse and white, but like my whitish colors here, these goldish colors, and like if you guys remember it, I got that yellow and black Chatterbaits all stuffed in there. The orangish colored ones with a few others stuffed in here. I don't even know how many Chatterbaits are actually stuffed in here right now, but then the chartreusey green ones are in here. And then I've kind of changed to where I have 2 spots now for bluegills, because I have so many bluegills. I have the bigger type bluegill, whether they're the, you know, the 1/2 ounce, the big blade, the originals or whatever over here, and then the 3/8, and then any of the little mini max bluegills I already have are stuffed over here. I don't even have, so once I get on anything that I think might be a bluegilly type bite, here's the baits that we're waiting to use. This is the ones for the test. I've already rigged them up, 6 different skirts on 3/8 ounce heads, and they're just waiting to go. And like I said, I think I have 3 to 5 or 6 or no, maybe more bluegills in the day box. I've got this one, this one, this one. So yeah, that box will be stuffed, and the day box stuffed with Chatterbaits. And I've also got, where's my day box? I've also got a few more, believe it or not, a few more Chatterbaits on the way, because I wanted to replace this color and I didn't want to have to buy jackhammers. So let me just show you the day box. Let me move some stuff out of the way. So there's the stuffed day box. Now what it should be is just the stuff that I'm using for maybe that day, but I've turned it into, if I just grab a box and go and one rod and reel, I could go and fish like almost everything. If I had to do that right now, I would grab either the Lose Elite TI or the Poison Adrena, or not any of them really, from the Dobbins all the way at the top end, all the way down to the, well, I'll be honest, even the 803 NRX Plus, I may lose some fish on some of the moving baits, but that rod, I could throw all this stuff you see in here with that whole, all those in between. I wouldn't want to use the 802s. They're just not heavy enough. And I wouldn't want to take the tequila back rack because it's just a lot. I mean, I could probably throw everything that's in here. So let's just do this. We're an hour 53 or 53 minutes in, almost an hour. So here is just stuffed full of Chatterbaits. I don't know how many are in there, but there's a bunch. And I just wanted to get one to show you that I'm the one, this color here. So I only ever bought one of that color, and that color just flat works. Now it's hard to make out in this lighting that you guys are seeing, but it kind of gets a yellowish tint, that green or whatever, and I think it's spot remover or whatever they call this. But a silver head, and you can see it's beat to heck. Silver blade, and that's my favorite thing to run on it. I think it just imitates crappie to a T. I think because the place I go with, it's overload. If I go somewhere overloaded with crappie, this bait just kicks in and flat catches a bunch of fish. These are probably close, but I don't And they work, but it's never quite the same. Maybe just because that white is a little too bright, too intense. But they kind of work. But that little dude that's a jackhammer 3/8. So I ordered the 3/8 that look. There's Noby, I believe, Neoby, 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 I believe. Had them like $3 a piece, and they look almost identical to that. I think I got 2 or 3 coming, and then basically a fire tiger color that I'm going to probably use just the head to put one of these other bluegills on, and then something else. I don't remember. Did I order any other ones? So anyway, this thing's stuffed with chatterbaits. So there's the one. If you guys that had missed out, I cast this just a little bit, but that water's way dark where I was. Still not sure if I really like this. I have to admit, I'm more impressed on this whole Thunder Cricket thing. I don't know if I really like this or not, but that hook is like a monster, and it's crazy sharp. Even I don't know. I like everything about the way that hook is. The coating it seems to have on it, how slick it is. I think because it's a 5/8, it was a little more deadening than all the others. I didn't have a jackhammer. I wasn't throwing any jackhammers, but I was throwing these little 3/8. Where did I throw? Did I throw? Well, I don't remember which. Out of the baits I was throwing, I've come to the conclusion I don't plan on buying any more of these heavier, whether it be Thunder Crickets, jackhammers, the Z-Man Customs. I've got a couple for those times when I feel like I might need to get a little deeper. But I feel for this blade size, honestly, 3/8 is where the action, where the power's at. And then I plan on, I know I've so many now. In about 15 years or about 10, 11 years when I retire and I run out of chatterbaits, the plan will be, hopefully they're still making the knockoffs, I will only be getting the 3/8 in the knockoffs. 1/2 ounce, I will actually, even in the little bit of extra money or whatever, on the big blades. And then the mini maxes, the 1/4, and the 3/8. Does that make sense? So and I know there's like, well, there might be a time when you need this or that, but I feel the way these hunt and jump around that, in all honesty, if you're going to get the mini maxes, you're probably better off to run the 1/4 ounce mini maxes, the 1/2 ounce big blades, and then the 3/8 ounce Thunder Crickets, jackhammers, or the knockoffs of the bunch. Or if you're getting the Z-Man original, any of those with that roughly that size blade, when you get these littler blades, they will all catch fish. I'm just talking about like what I prefer in the action, the feel of the bait, and how the speed you can retrieve it, and then it just has a certain feel to it. But anyway, I'm getting a little too deep in what I'm talking about here. But yeah, oh no, this is the jackhammer. I did run this one. So yeah, this bait definitely thumped harder than this bait. And then I ran, but then so did all the knockoffs. And I don't want to dog Thunder Cricket because I think it's the fact this is a heavier head. 1/2 ounce, 5/8. Like I could feel the weight, like the pull, and then it just felt like it had a little more of a deadening feel. Still a good chatter, but as far as just casting one out and it's starting right back up, these knockoffs, the jackhammer, actually this started pretty good, but it just had a different feel to it. Anyway, I may be buying, if I get deals on them, Thunder Crickets. I don't think I want to, definitely don't want any more of this heavy. But I may just go ahead and buy a 1/2 ounce and a 3/8 and just make my own decision on what, if I go Thunder Crickets, which one I would like. And you guys comment that I don't know if that's actually a plus or a negative, the fact that that moves. I still haven't made my mind up on what I think. because there's where everything's going to be on your jackhammers, your knockoffs. They don't do this. So, and I haven't really seen enough underwater footage to look and see, like, how does this bait run? Does it run pulling it down here? Because then it wouldn't hit right, would it? Shouldn't it run? But it won't run up there, because if it's pulling all that, I would think as soon as you pull, it's out here. But maybe it, I don't know. I haven't even seen. I didn't even realize that was a thing until I guess I never paid attention to the ones Matt and them had. I just grabbed it like, oh yeah, it looks like a jackhammer. You throw it, and it's like, yeah, it feels like a jackhammer to me. It thumps. But then once I was filling this one, now Matt was throwing half ounces. I don't think he ever bought any that big either. And I only bought that one just because it was on clearance for $5, and then I wanted to put that bluegill color that I don't even know if that looks like a bluegill. I left it alone because I knew where I was going was super dark. But where I was, you put this in the water, and I don't even know if it was a foot. You couldn't even see it. So visibility was very low. I should have been throwing all white or solid black and blue. But I was just trying a bunch of different stuff. But kind of what I was talking about, then I'm definitely getting out of here. See, like this jig looks like a little bitty old finessey jig, but that's a pretty stout hook. So that hook thickness is about, where was that? Mini Max. I know I just saw one. Yeah, so that hook isn't far from what the Mini Max is on these little jigs. So I would probably throw it on the 803 for sure is be what we'll get, like this style jig. But then when you get into these other ones, I got these littler guys. They're close to that size, probably 803. Some of these smaller baits, but then all the bigger, probably even these swim baits. Once I'm a moving bait on the jigs, it would be like one of the other rods. Probably actually try a lot of this stuff on the blade. Swim jigs, it should be good on it, along with chatterbaits that I love. But then when you get into these bigger dudes, like that big, the Crocogator has a big, pretty gaff style hook. Now the smaller, even though this is a heavy bait, they're a little bit less on like those the mop jigs. I could probably get by with probably any of the. I could probably get by with I'll be honest, that size right there, I could probably yank a few with the blade and the 803 possibly. But or these guys. But once you get into like these, and I've got several of them, and then the fluorescent fluoros and all that stuff. Flipping fluoros, I mean not fluorescent fluoros. Several others that are a lot stouter, so I don't even know where they're at, but some of the dirty jigs and stuff. That's when you kick in with the Super Destroyer, the Dobbins, and the Tequila Baccarat for these bigger jigs. But if I was out there, any of them, even the blade, if I was fishing the blade and I was fishing with this, I would just yank as hard as I could if I get a hit, and it'll probably, that hook's sharp. It'll probably send it home. But it is better to have, once you get into a certain size hook, it's better to have a stouter rod on those jig hooks for sure. The Tequila Baccarat, the Dobbins, and the Super Destroyer, you can yank and crank with those. The medium heavies, the Poison Adrena medium plus, and the medium heavy lose, they're not going to be, I'm not going to worry about trying to throw that style stuff on those. This kind of stuff, yeah. That smaller hook, they can also handle that. The swim jigs, all that kind of stuff. All right, guys. Yeah, look at this mess I got going. Then I got my spinner baits over here, and I don't even have all the spinner baits I plan on using. I got a few others coming, a different style spinner bait I wanted to try. So I basically have a few. I got hard baits all over, just scattered. But I got some Z-Man plastic that I need to probably just get out of there. But there's a lot of my terminal type stuff, some different hooks to rig. I think I even have, what do they call that, the bonsai rig. That dude I brought back out of retirement to see if I can make myself like him or not. I didn't like him originally compared to the, what did he call it? And we've got a couple wobble heads. Got the same head as like the structure jig, that Cobra style. There's just a lot of stuff like that in there. And then the swim bait stuff is over here underneath the Whopper Plopper. But I do still need to find, and I also switch out to these. If you guys remember right, I bought a lot of those bigger styles so you screw in your swim bait and it doesn't just rip off as easy. I got all that kind of stuff stuffed in there, these little Megabus deals. And I know they're going to end up setting in there the way they are. All the hooks are going to get dull rub and other stuff. But that's what I got for now until I figure out what I want to do a little different. I'm tempted to go buy just one of those big Plano boxes and refigure things out. Because this thing right here, my first probably 10 years of fishing is probably more stuff stuffed in here than I bothered to take with me when I went fishing. Because you don't even need all of this. And this is just stuff out of my boxes that are stuffed completely full already. Yeah, I know. It's a mess. And it didn't, that's not even talking about the soft plastics that are scattered all over here in basically in bags like this. So I just stuff them in a bag and be like, okay, at some point I'll get to you because you work, but I don't have any room for you. Like that is an awesome bait. Keytech Crazy Flappers, awesome bait. I don't know where I'm going to have room for them. These little dudes right here, flatworms, drop shotting, awesome bait. Well, then Jay gave me these. Now, we're not in Florida, but the Easy Swimmer Black and Blue, they're just kind of sitting there. Can't go wrong with Reaction Innovations, the Sweet Beaver, the Spicy Beaver, the Give Me Some of That Beaver, Green Pumpkin Magic, Guggen Baits, the Bandito Bug. I believe these are the juniors. Nah, maybe not. Are those the regular or the juniors? 3.3. I don't even know. Just says Bandito Bug. I'm not even sure. Maybe that's a full regular size. Oh yeah, here's the junior 3. No, that's the juniors 3.3. They just don't say they are. Bandito Bug 3.3, and then these say 3.3 Bandito Bug Junior. Anyway, a bunch of those. There's the other Gambler from Jay. The missile baits. There's more. There's another Reaction Innovation. I think I got a couple different baits stuck in there. All different sprayed grass, but a couple different style of baits. Trying to make room and take a few less things one day probably. Missile baits, baby D-bombs, candy grass, baby destroyer, candy grass color. That's just one of these. Then all my right baits, which I need to get these back out. Let's just go through. No, I don't want to mess with all of it. I'm just going to show you a couple. Let me find one that looks good. I know you've seen these before. Probably my favorite color. Is this my favorite color? You can't read it. I think one of these is called Slayer, but that little fuzzy is what they call those, riot baits. Those little things, man, they just flat will work. You got to put a little effort into them. It's hard to explain, but they'll catch fish. Was never impressed with this dude though. I bought him to try. Is this a Slayer? One of these, there's a couple colors. Yeah. So the Slayer color, 3.5 inch little fuzzy Slayer 7-pack. Probably my favorite of these would be that dude right there in that color. I like the littler ones better. Once you need to get a little finessey and need a bite. Now I bought those to try instead of like a brush hog type of thing or baby brush hog. But these, the Vigilante and the Slayer color, they didn't go Charles Bronson on me or nothing. They look delicious. I mean, they look good. It's kind of like a Bandito Bug met up with a baby brush hog, but I couldn't find where I really liked them. So anyway. All right, guys, I'm out of here. I got to go eat dinner, but hopefully you see what I'm talking about. I have about 1, 3 of these are Z-Man. Then I have, I think, 2 of these are these kind of baits that I got to get figured out to put in with the other stuff that's already in my tackle box, soft plastics. Or to just pick and choose what I take it each time. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Wait a minute, Brew Tank's here. Quick one before you end it. Top 2 baits ever made in order. What did you say? I think I can guess it. You're going to try to say Chaturbate. Now, what are we talking about? Be specific in just the Chaturbate, or the specific brand in a Chaturbate, or in what catches fish? Because I'm going to give you 2, and it's only because they are, as of right now, the cheapest way you can do it. So the best bait of all time, top 2 bait ever made, in my opinion, is a Z-Man original Chaturbate. But the fact now you can just go buy knockoffs for, you know, whatever of the jackhammer would be that one, or you could say it's a jackhammer or whatever, but that's, I consider, the best. But the old worm, now the best worm ever is going to be the Zinkers, because the Cinco's probably the best, period. But what you can do with the Zinkers and how long it lasts you and how many fish you can catch on one worm, the worm is probably the best single-handedly bait ever made. And the fact that the Zinkers can catch, I don't know, 30 to 50 bass before you need to change that. And usually you just need to change. It just wears itself down, which I had one sitting in here. Perfect example. This right here. Where's it at? Yeah, this right here. I couldn't tell you. I mean, you could probably tell by how beat up it is. How many fish this is probably already caught. And I'll probably go ahead and just take it off and put a new one on when I do go fishing. But I guarantee you, I could go right back out there. And that's a, well, it's starting to get a little rusty. But it's been sitting in there for like a year, rigged up. That right there is probably, you can do so much with that. I rigged it all totally wrong. With that worm, I need to just take this off. And probably this. No, actually, I thought that was rust. I think that's the color painted all the way down to there. Those finesse rugby jigs, VMC, man, they're crazy. Like you can only go so heavy, or if you don't yank hard, because you can rip that right out of their mouth if you got too heavy of a rod. But you can get these in the 16th and 8th, a few others, whatever. But that Zinkers. But you just have to catch me on any given time. I got that. Never mind. I rigged up horribly. Because there was a time when I thought roughly this style of worm was about the best thing you get. Now, the Jean LaRue, the old original one, hooktail worm or whatever, it had, these were like round balls, the appendages up here. So instead of having just little that don't really do anything, a little ribbing, they were literally looked like little balls stuck together, and they were bigger here, and they kind of tapered down. Bass Pro has a similar thing to it. But that tomato red color with that hooktail and that older style mold, see how these are molded flat on one side, that like poured or however they're done. It's still a fish catcher. This right here, you can tear up some fish. If fish gets finicky, rig that up Texas style, 1/4 ounce or whatever, up to a 1/2 ounce, or throw it out and then just kind of drag it slow. Man. What I would do is I'd just drag it until I felt it hit something, and then I'd just, almost like a shake head, I'd just shake and donk, they eat it. But a worm, probably still #1 bass bait ever made. There's all different styles, and the reason I pick that Zinkers is just insane which ways you can use it, just like you would a Cinco. Now, if you guys don't like Z-Man products, a Cinco is going to do the same thing. You're just going to go through more baits than what you can. But that, because you can kind of do the same thing with a Cinco. You can cut the sucker in half, and you've got more or less like a TRD. It's going to not float up like a TRD, but you can still catch fish like that. Because honestly, I catch about as many fish on TRD just throwing it out and reeling it, dragging it, basically reeling it back slow as I do setting it and trying to use it like a shaky head. But moving baits, just baits in general, my favorite bait, you guys know the deal, Chaturbate. Z-Man Original, let's just move this to right here. And if you guys know, if I had to pick a color, and if I had to pick a bait, I got it right here. How did I know out of all this that there's one just stuck right there? This dude right here. Z-Man Original, half ounce, probably 3/8, but I mean, just to be like covered all, because a half ounce you technically can get a little further cast, you can get a little deeper at the same speed, just creeping it kind of thing. Z-Man Original, black and blue. I don't really like this trailer at all, but you put that with one of those, I have those two somewhere. Rig that baby up with one of these, and it's game on. Black and blue with that royal blue or whatever, little baby Rage Menace. Now, I would prefer nowadays, even if I'm going to go with the originals like I talked about earlier in the video, Z-Man Original in a 3/8 with one of these rigged up will let it get jumpy or get more huntier. I should leave that in there. I'm putting this dude right there. You guys stay right there. Stay right there. I know, I got to go through this. So anyway, there you go, Brew Tank. Top two everything. I probably should do a shootout. I don't want to spend the money to go buy. I thought about, I was going to do it. I almost did it because I was going to get their bluegill colors. I was going to get the Jackhammer bluegill, the bluegill with the gold blade Thunder Cricket. They had them on sale for $10 at Tackle Warehouse. What gave me the idea? I was going to buy that one. Then I was going to get the Jackhammer, which is $15.99. They're ghost gill or whatever. And then the Picasso has is it a sexy gill or something in one of theirs. I was going to like get those three to do like a shootout along with mine. But man, two of those baits is $30. You're talking $45 for 3 baits. It sounds insane when you can go, and this bait right here, or that black and blue Z-Man Original for that matter, you can get for $5. So for that $45, I mean, you can get a bunch of baits. These you can get for under $250. Those ones you just saw me get in the unboxing I did, I think it was under $30, and I had like 12. Basically jackhammers. They're knockoffs, Jackie Hamas. But, you know, because one thing you want to be able to do is throw these and not be afraid to lose them. So I'm at that point now. I'm not afraid to lose a bluegill chatterbait, a black and blue chatterbait, one of these colored chatterbaits. The only chatterbait that I can technically really say I only have one of, and I ordered more, was that white one I showed you, the like spot remover, and then maybe this guy or like my new Fireball. So Brew Tank, did you see? That's the Fireball. But I can easily make more. That dude right there, I can just take the other one. I could add a few colors to it. But like if I was catching fish and this was working, I'm like, man, it's working. I'm catching fish, and then like I lost it or whatever. And no matter what trailer I had, first of all, whatever trailer I had, I could throw on this one. But if they were like, okay, for some reason that bite, they should, if they hit this, they should hit this. But then I could always go, okay, I need to add some color, and I could probably do that with the trailer. So same thing like this one, there's no replacing this dude. But honestly, I don't expect to if I catch a fish on this dude, I will be tickled red and orange. So anyway, I gotta go, guys. I gotta go find something to eat. Over an hour video again. And I was just going to do a quick one update on the bluegill that we're anxious to get out and try, because I feel two of my best deals and options are here. The way the heads that if you remember, I had a couple of them have that good right color. That's it right there, I think. Yeah, that's the dirty. It's pretty bad when I've sat there and I can just glance at the little edge of one and tell which one it was. So yeah, that Dirty Jigs Bluegill 2, that is Hollywood Craw, are still my two favorites, just until we get out and actually start fishing them and they do or don't catch fish. then trust me, my favorite will change if it changes. But yeah, that Dirty Jigs one, it's dirty. Bluegill 2 is just dirty. So thanks for watching, guys. Get out, go bass and bonsai. Whatever you do, have fun doing it. I'm gonna have fun getting something. Oh wait, is it Chipotle night? It's Tuesday night. Taco Tuesday. Chipotle bowl. Give me a bowl. They won't all fit in that burrito. That tortilla shell, it just ain't packing enough. All right, see you guys later.